Bulls' strengths early on in the season was the bench, and suddenly the Chicago Bulls bench has gone completely ice cold. Is it something that's going to fix itself with health, or is there a bigger concern going on here with the Chicago Bulls bench? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to look about this team and the decisions with the losing, how they're going to move forward. We're going to look at each of the trade value of some of the Bulls' biggest trade pieces, even though I still don't expect the team to make a big move. And we're also going to look at the Bulls matchup tonight against the Orlando Magic. We'll talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get to this content for today, y'all. And so we've talked a lot about the things that have changed for the Chicago Bulls over this recent losing streak. The Bulls have been getting their asses. I mean, just to be quite frank with you, the Bulls are 3-7 in their last 10. I think they're 3-8 in their last 11. The Bulls got a lot of shit that they need to hope to improve on and get together if they're going to want to any type of realistically salvage this season and turn it around. There are already a lot of Bulls fans who are like, no, it's done. This is who the Bulls are. They're not going to improve. The first 5 games were a complete mirage, so therefore this team, and listen, with the Bulls play, I can't even blame anybody for feeling that way, right? But one of the things that have definitely changed for this Bulls team is the bench, and it's changed with a lot of other things, right? Through the first 10 games of the season, the Chicago Bulls were third in bench scoring, 5th in field goal shooting percentage, 6th in three-point shooting percentage, and 5th in plus minus. That's what the Bulls bench was, near elite, right? We talked about how the Bulls, have prioritized depth coming into this season. Billy Donovan's made a lot about the depth, talking about consistently going 10, 11 deep into the bench. And, that made sense. We started off the season without Zach Collins. Coby White was hurt. So you already had, a player in Trey Jones in the starting lineup, and you were missing another big piece off that bench. But over the last few games, the last 5 games to be specific, the Chicago Bulls bench has taken a tail dive. Tail spin, nose dive. That's how it goes. The bench ranks 15th in scoring, 6th in field goal shooting percentage, and 26th in three-point shooting percentage, and 28th in plus minus. Now, that's still above average in scoring and field goal shooting percentage is right there. Well, they're both right around middle of the pack, right? So something that was such a strength by this Bulls bench, and we talked highly about it, is that when you have a bench that can come in and either keep up the pace, keep up the momentum, or change the momentum when you need to in a game, it is such a luxury in the NBA, and that's what the Bulls had at the beginning of the season. Now, between injuries and other things, it has definitely affected the effectiveness of the bench. You look at it, Kevin Huerter, Jalen Smith, Patrick Williams have all missed some games over the Chicago Bulls' last 5 games. And then we've also had starters that have been sidelined there as well. So there's a reasonable expectation that the bench could get back to where it was, especially Zach Collins could make his debut as early as tonight. We're still waiting to see and get official answer on that. He's listed as doubtful right now, so that could put some, of course, some doubt on if he's going to, make his return tonight or not. But either way, it looks like he's slated to come back at some time this week. We know that everybody's healthy except Isaac Okoro, who's still hurt, surprisingly enough. Do we even know exactly when Isaac Okoro got hurt? But nonetheless, he's still out as well for this Chicago Bulls team. I think coming into this game, Jalen may miss this game as well. So Zach Collins listed as doubtful. Isaac Okoro was already listed as out. Jalen Smith is already listed as out as well, with Dalen Terry being doubtful, Julian Phillips being questionable, Lachlan Albrecht being probable. So there you go on the injury report. That one came out a little bit late last night, from KC Johnson. So the Bulls bench is still going to be missing some things. But we aren't, and again, this has been one of the quotes that has been triggering for some people. We aren't good enough to not have a bench that's going to perform very well for this team. So you have to have a bench. And you know what? That gets me on this, right? I want to talk about this because I've noticed a lot of people use this lately for the reason why the Bulls are losing, right? And this has been something that I've gone back and forth with some people in the comments, but I'm going to say this here, and I want to hear everybody's opinion on this, right? Whether that you agree with me or disagree with me. People that are blaming and saying that the Chicago Bulls slide, how can you expect players to go out there and play with effort when their coach said they're not good enough? First off, I want to say this. There are a lot of people who misuse that quote, and I can tell you didn't actually go back and look at where he said it at or read the full, even the context of it, because people are acting like he just said, yeah, we're not good enough out there. He was talking specifically about we aren't good enough to give full effort defensively. And even with that, people who excuse that as an excuse and say, well, why would you go out there and play hard after your coach says that? I can tell a lot of you people came from participation trophy homes, because to me, I could easily respond to that and saying, as a professional player who gets paid millions of dollars to play a game, if somebody says, hey, we're not good enough defensively to slack off on effort if you want to win these basketball games, you know what that should make you do? That should make you say, hey, bet, let's go out here and fight defensively. Let's go out here. They think we can't get stops. That's where the pride comes in at. Some of y'all don't have pride, and some of y'all are cowards, and y'all project that on to give excuses for a team. I'm sorry. If this team is, and I'm somebody who I'm anti-blow it all up, but if this team is filled with players that got in their fucking feelings and their panties got twisted because their coach said they're not good enough to not give consistent effort defensively and expect to win basketball games, if those same players took that and they're like, oh my God, the coach doesn't think we're good enough, and then sit there and play pouty and stop playing with energy, then they're the problem. Then they need to be moved. I don't give a fuck what your feelings are, Billy Donovan. If Billy Donovan's comments of we're not good enough to not give 100% effort defensively make you want to quit as a player, and you excuse that from the players making millions of dollars, you are just as big of a problem as y'all try to say A.K. Eversley and the ownership group is. I'm tired. Like, you should not want people on your team that are going to be cowardice. That's what that is. Do you think all the good coaches go look at how Eric Spoelstra motivated Khalil Ware? Go look how he's talked about, because he knows what Khalil Ware is capable of when he gives effort. When Khalil Ware's effort has been in question, go look at how he's talked about Khalil Ware. I'm so sick and tired of pansy ass thinking, and then it's used as an excuse. No, I'm sorry. If these players are butthurt that Nikola Vucevic, after a game, said, hey, I feel like we need to be taking it seriously when you're in the midst of a 3-11 streak. 3-8 streak in your last 11 games. If that got you in your feelings, you aren't good enough to be on. That's not the type of people, the type of mindset. And don't give me no bull crap on, well, Nikola Vucevic killed the fun. I get it. I can get with anybody that says, well, Vooch needs to make sure he's giving better effort defensively. He's going to say stuff like that. That's a completely separate thing. I'm 100% on with people who feel that way. But if you're trying to excuse a player and their morale because a player afterwards was like, damn, we just came down to a last-minute shot against a team that we're better than. You know what that is? That's supposed to be accountability. That's supposed to be holding yourself accountable to who and what you think you are and what your team is supposed to be like. It's too much silliness going around. So, no, I don't have problems with Vooch's comments. Maybe the wrong messenger. The comments themselves were right. And if this team is giving up because a coach said that they weren't good enough to slack off defensively, then guess what? You ain't did nothing but prove him right, because now look at your record versus look at the effort that's on the basketball court. So you're not doing anything other than looking like a pouty-ass bitch if that's the case, and you're sitting there worried about it. So you can miss me. Everybody can miss me with the comments and the excuses. Oh, well, why would you give an effort if your coach said shut the fuck up when it comes down to that? You know why I say that? Because if you're going to go out there, if you have pride in anything you do, and maybe this is just me as being a petty person, if you're prideful about doing anything and somebody says, hey, you're not good enough to do this, and your response to that is, oh, I guess I'm not good enough, I'm just not going to work on it. You're stupid. You're dumb. You're stupid and you're dumb. And you don't deserve then to wear the Chicago Bulls across your chest. So if that's what has these players in their feelings to where their effort out there on the basketball court has been a net zero, fuck them. And they can all go. Coby can go. Giddey can go. If any player, and I'm not saying that I want them to go. I'm saying that any player, I don't care who it is, if you've caught yourself in your feelings because of the recent comments from coach, your players, whoever it is, the media, if that gets you so down and you don't have any type of pride in yourself that you want to play better, you don't need to be on this basketball team. I don't want you. I can't. I'm not going to be able to win with you. I don't want you on the team. So if that's y'all excuse for why this team has been playing like shit is because of comments from Vooch, Ayo, and the coach, you can take those players and y'all can go with them as well, because that is stupid is what that would be. So No, I really hope that this team isn't down on themselves because of a few comments questioning their effort and their ability to be good. I don't want to hear that shit. Go out there and prove it wrong. If you got a problem with it, put that on your back and use it as a chip, and go out there and put that chip on your shoulder and play like you give a damn. Because playing like you don't give a damn don't do nothing but prove the haters and the doubters right. So that's my thought process. It just gets me frustrated, not necessarily at y'all, but if these players are such crybabies that comments from their teammates and their coach has them playing like pansies out there on the basketball court, I don't give a shit about none of them then at that point. It's basically what I'm here to say. Not to judge any of the fans, but if that's legitimately what is in this locker room bothering people, wake the hell up. I hate to tell y'all, but most people who go to their 9-to-5 jobs, guess what? Your boss is probably talking some shit behind your back. Stop worrying about it. If the fact that it's out there in the media, cool, it's good. Now still, what are we looking like as men? Pull your nuts up, go out there and play basketball, and go out there and play with effort. That's what this team needs to do. That's what they need to lock in at. If they can't do that, then you probably shouldn't be playing in the National Basketball Association. But with that said, as you guys can tell, that's something that may frustrate me a little bit more than what it needs to, because it's just stupid. It's just real pure stupidity. But with that said, let's move on from this though. Let's calm it back down. Let's get back into the analysis. The Bulls need their bench and they need their depth. That's one of the ways and one of the keys that this Bulls team has, especially with the pace that they like to play at. Having everybody healthy, being able to throw those consistent bodies in that play style, that's a possible benefit for the Bulls. But you got to play hard to get any type of benefit or to actually benefit from something that could give you an edge. With that said, I want to move on, right? The Chicago Bulls, if the losing does continue this season, a lot of people are asking, A, if the losing continues, does it qualify as a tank? You guys know how I feel about tanking. That is what it is. But if this Bulls team, as AK talked about at the beginning of the season, saying evaluating for long-term fit, if this team can't, turn this thing around and they can't start winning more often, what does it realistically look like for them to start selling off pieces at the deadline? Now, I want to be clear here. We have seen a shift in the NBA over the last few years to where expiring contracts aren't really as valuable as they used to be. We used to see quite a bit of trade deadline moves, smaller moves around the trade deadline, maybe a few weeks leading into the trade deadline and things like that, of expiring contracts being moved around. If you look at the last couple of years, not to say that expiring contracts have not been moved still, but not at the frequency or at the value that they used to be. It used to be if you can have a veteran that's on an expiring that a team can then take on to help them on a championship run, you're getting a first-round pick back. Now we're seeing it kind of turns a lot into multiple second-round picks, and that's for players that are on winning teams or have been on teams that maybe have gone on playoff runs for a while and then had to take a step back or took a step back because of other things, right? So that's what you have seen historically in the NBA. So I think a lot of people kind of still hold that old school value because it is only a recent thing that expiring contracts don't have that old value that they used to. Now, with that said, the Bulls do have a number of expiring contracts on this team that we've talked about ad nauseum a few times, right? Vooch, Coby, Ayo Dosunmu, Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Dalen Terry, all those guys are expiring, along with Jevon Carter as well, are all expiring. Jevon Carter, who has actually in his minutes this season has been pretty good for the Chicago Bulls. Still, takes some bad shots, but he's been making a lot of them too. So, there you go with that one, right? So what would each one of those guys kind of hold on the trade on the trade market, or what would each one of those guys really kind of provide the Bulls as far as value moving on? And here's the thing. Vooch, a lot of Bulls fans are like, move Vooch, get him off our team, and I understand why. But the thing is, you're not going to get a lot for Vooch with the way he's been playing. You probably would have gotten more back for Vooch last season when he finished strong and he was the most consistent Bull. But even then, reportedly the Bulls did shop him. He didn't have a market then, so I don't really expect Vooch to have a market now. And he's the type of player that used to have value in an expiring contract that I just don't think that value's there anymore for a player like Nikola Vucevic. So even though the Bulls are able to move Vooch, it's either as an additive to make the salaries work and either a pick or a younger, kind of more decent contract is really the target there, and they just need to make the salaries work. So there's that one. Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter. I think Kevin Huerter's probably definitely raised his value for sure. I would say that the way that he's played off this Bulls bench, even though he hasn't been shooting the three ball effectively, the way that he has been, performing on defense, giving effort, the passing, still scoring, just not shooting the three ball as well as he used to. He could very well have some value at the trade deadline for a team that's looking to add some shooting, add some scoring punch leading into the playoffs. That's definitely somebody. Zach Collins hasn't played yet, so we have to see, but I can see Zach Collins having kind of a similar value. A team looking for some depth big, maybe a big got hurt during the season, looking for some depth. So there's a possibility there. Now, what would you get back for that is the question. And could the Bulls get a low first back? Maybe. If that team is really confident that they're going to make it maybe to the conference finals, and then that pick is probably going to be sub 25, you probably could. And then hope that they're going to get eliminated earlier than they expect, right? Have an earlier out. So I think the Bulls can probably get a low first for one of Kevin Huerter or Zach Collins, but it's going to have to be a team that is pretty sure in their ability to compete for a title this season, right? Dalen, I don't think Dalen has any value. Now, as a throw-in, as a young expiring piece that a team could look at and say, yeah, he's a restricted free agent, but we're going to be bad for a while. Maybe we go ahead and re-sign him. Helps us get to the salary floor, and we have a young player that we can probably give a lot more opportunity to see what he's going to turn into. Maybe, but I don't see you really getting great value for that, maybe as an additive. And that leaves you to Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White, right? What is their value out there on the market? And I think both those guys, I think Ayo more than Coby is probably going to have tremendous value. Now, based on what we heard in the offseason and last year at the trade deadline, the Bulls have turned away trade calls on Ayo Dosunmu. So, meaning that I don't think Ayo is going to get moved, but if he is, best believe the Bulls are going to get something substantial back, whether it's only a top 10 protected pick, and if it goes to the Bulls either way, or maybe a team feels confident enough to give him an unprotected pick, right? I think that's what the ease of like only $7.5 million on Ayo's contract. I think that's easy to get, and I don't think he's going to really try to look for a contract that messes up his value. He's going to get paid a lot more, probably $16 to $20 million. But I think a team's going to value that with what he's able to do as far as his two-way play. Then they get you to Coby White. And this is the player that a lot of Bulls fans are like, we got to trade Coby. It makes sense to trade Coby, all this type of stuff. Coby is known to be looking for $30 million contract, right? And his contract isn't necessarily hard. I think it's about $13 million is his contract this season. So it's not like it's a super hard contract to match his $12.8 million. So not a super hard contract to match. But then you have to look at him. He is looking to get paid some pretty decent money. What we've heard is upwards of $30 million, right? Now, would a team be willing to do that? I do think if a team especially views him to be able to use him as the point guard, like, for example, would Minnesota really balk at the Coby White extension if they wanted Coby next to Anthony Edwards? I don't think so. I think at that point they're committed to, they're all in on trying to win, so they'll probably do something like that. But what can you get back for that? That's the question, right? And I don't think that Coby has the value that some people are looking for, and I'm not saying that he has bad value either. It'll just be interesting to see what type of offers and where the Bulls value what they're getting back. Like, is it a pick or is it a young player that has shown something now, right? Like, are they going to be trying to get back a piece that is for the future, or would they be willing to get back something that helps them win now and a pick later on down the road, right? That's what it would come down to. I still don't think that the Bulls, I think I'm having difficulty with this because I still don't see the Bulls making huge moves in any of these cases. But I do think that these players hold a certain amount of value if they're playing well. And you can only play so well on a team that's losing, right? And we're talking about this in the sense that would the Bulls do this if the losing continues? So I guess we'll see. The Bulls have an interesting piece. Like I've said many times, regardless of my thought on if they're going to make trades or not, this team has the most assets at a trade deadline we've ever seen them have, and they maybe ever have again. The over $80 million in expiring contracts, all your first-round picks, 2 trade exceptions. You have so much at your disposal if you want to be active on the trade market. I don't know why I still just don't necessarily have the biggest confidence in this front office to do anything, but we'll see. Let me know down below what you guys think, though. Do you think that the Bulls, if the losing continues, will, not if you think they should or not, but do you think they will try to make a big swing to where maybe they do trade somebody who previously was thought to be part of their future? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that, we do have a game today, and that game is against the Orlando Magic. And the Orlando Magic, who are coming into this, after being 8-2 in their last 10, 4-1 in their last 5. They started off the season struggling. One of their losses was against us. They now move themselves into a top 10 offensive and a top 10 defensive team in the league. They are 9th in offensive rating overall in the season and 8th in defensive rating. Over the last 10 games, they're 10th in defense and 3rd in offense, surprisingly enough. That's crazy. Right now, they're going to be without Paolo Banchero, which is something that's going to definitely impact the way that they play basketball. Make no doubt about that, and we're not going to act like that's not a case of it happening. But We know the Bulls are also missing pieces, and we know how important the depth is overall to this team, right? We know all those things. But Paolo is going to be out today. He's guaranteed to not be playing, and that's already with them missing Mo Wagner as well. So now it comes down to how much is this team still a threat against the Bulls, and they're a huge. Because any team is a threat against the Chicago Bulls team, no matter who they're playing, because the Bulls lose to G League teams at times, right? So what can the Bulls do, right? Now, this is a Magic team that even though they're ranked 9th in offense, they still are towards the bottom of the league in three-point rate. They just don't take a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of threes. But we have seen Desmond Bane kind of more come alive here later, more than he was early in the season. So the Bulls have to still look out for that because Desmond Bane's the type of player that the Bulls have go off on them before. So the Bulls are going to have to come into this game with a solid defensive effort from start to finish. And you just cannot win this team if you do not try to give solid defense. Outside of that, you have to rebound well. This is one of the best rebounding teams in the game of basketball. So the Bulls have to be prepared for this one. They are 7th in rebounding rate. They get 52% of all rebounds when they're out there. And their offensive rebound, they're 11th. So top half of the league, that is something that can cause the Bulls some worries today. The Bulls got to be locked in and ready to go for this one. And due to not the Magic not necessarily being a high-volume three-point shooting team, this is a game where the Bulls' pace can definitely play a benefit for them, but it has to be through defense first. So the Bulls have an avenue in this one. They got to compete hard. They got to play hard. They got to play tough in this game. And if they do so, they'll have a chance to win. But we know with the Bulls, they always have a chance to lose as well. And that's part of the problem on the season so far. So let's see which Bulls show up. Let's see how well they're locked in and prepared, because this could be a game where the Bulls can get a victory in this one. And let's hope that they do, because they need to start turning this thing around at some point in time. Do you want to have a second 5-game losing streak? Let's see what the Bulls do. Let's see what they do. Let's hope that they can get in here and get a dub tonight, and we can call a win. But that's it, man. That's going to do it for today's episode. The bench needs to wake up. The trade rumors are going to start heating up. They've already been heating up a little bit for the Bulls acquiring a big talent. Now for the Bulls talent, I'm sure is going to be there. And they have a big test tonight against the Orlando Magic. If you're rocking with the show, as always, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you're subscribed. A lot of people think they're subscribed, but they're not, so make sure you guys are subscribed. Otherwise, you can follow us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.